Sri Lanka Business TV.
So in this program, let me just share the key elements. I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything, that I have this small note. Is first part, what we call the fiscal side, what we call government operations, which is the fiscal consolidation. What does that mean, fiscal consolidation? I think you, in the learned community, you understand that is based on for us to bring our debt into more sustainable level over a period of time. The key element in bringing debt into sustainable level is what they call primary surplus or deficit of the fiscal accounts, which is expenditure, revenue minus expenditure, excluding interest expenditure. So which is right now, this year, last year it was minus 6% of GDP. It's largest primary deficit that we had for a long time, and this year is going to be minus 4% of GDP. So that has to be turned around to plus 2.3% by 2025. So it's like 6% adjustment in primary deficit or surplus towards from deficit to surplus in about 3 years' time. This is in fact a very sharp adjustment and very ambitious fiscal adjustment. It's not that easy, but for us to come out of this crisis, and for us to stabilize the economy, as you all know, fiscal imbalance is the key imbalance that we have been having for long years in Sri Lanka's economic management, that we have to address that forever. This is why we have committed, the government, the Minister of Finance has committed to turn around the deficit of minus 4% this year to plus 2% by 2025, and then from there onwards maintain a surplus in a primary deficit for a possible future. So that's important one. That's why that's important. That's a key variable in bringing down debt into a more sustainable level, and this is the contribution, internal contribution, in our own government contribution in bringing down debt into more sustainable level. So we have to show a strong commitment from our side that we are committing to a strong adjustment program in terms of fiscal management, so that we can make a significant contribution in bringing down our debt into a more sustainable path. Without us making a strong contribution, we can ask, it's not fair for us to ask our creditors to make a contribution. This is the reason why we are making strong commitment, to show that we are strongly committed to adjust our own, kind of imbalances into more favorable balances, so that on that basis, please also make your own contribution on equal basis. That is the key one. And then obviously related to that, there are a lot of other very similar public sector reform, which is the structural reforms in state-owned enterprises. And you have heard a lot about that in terms of restructuring state-owned enterprises, introducing cost-reflective pricing formulas for energy, that we have been having long periods of fixed prices, but with a lot of bleeding in state-owned enterprises, making huge losses out of taxpayers' money. As a result, we have come to a situation, our fiscal position and also fiscal debt become unsustainable. That also will have to be addressed. And most importantly, when you're going through this difficult, ambitious reforms program, is obviously in a crisis situation, it's very painful. And on top of that, which means you have to increase taxes, you have to increase a lot of taxes, and also at the same time, government had to increase prices of petroleum, utilities, all this. And you see already that is happening, has already happened a major part, and that will affect with very high inflation. This will affect mainly, worst affected are basically poor and vulnerable, low income people whose incomes are basically low or fixed, or their incomes are not increasing, and also with economic contraction, high prices, the real incomes are eroding. Those will be most affected. So the other key element is to protect the poor and vulnerable. That is important part of the program. So that's we have to ensure the socially poor and vulnerable are protected out of this as a result of these difficult economic reforms we have to undergo in this difficult economic environment. Then second part, key element is the restore public debt sustainability. That is where we are now doing our part through our internal adjustment, and we expect the other part from our creditors. And the third important pillar is to restore price stability and and rebuild external buffer. Why I would say that? Other key macroeconomic imbalance and also the adverse impact is very high inflation that we are experiencing now. I can talk about 1 hour why we are experiencing very high inflation now. There is no point of talking about the monetary expansion, money printing, all these things happened in the last couple of years. But we have to restore the price stability. The inflation is 60%, food inflation is 95%. If that goes beyond all those levels and it goes runaway inflation, like we have seen a lot of other countries say in crisis situation like sometimes Zimbabwe, Argentina, all these countries, it goes beyond the control of the Central Monetary Authority, then it's going to be a disaster. No one can do any business if the inflation going about 100%, which means every price of goods and services will be double within 12 months period, which means you have to increase your wages, your cost of production will be high, then prices will be going up further, and then people won't be able to afford all these things, currency will be depreciating, and on top of that we as a result of the certain measure that we had in the past, we lost our balance of payment crisis, we lost our foreign exchange reserves. We came to a situation we didn't have any reserves, not only to meet external debt service obligation, but also to meet, payment of foreign exchange for essential commodities like even fuel, all these things. That's why you have seen this situation. So for that we have to, first important part is to curtail the inflation. Now, how do we curtail inflation? We have to raise interest rates. There's no other choice. Now, I hear a lot of things from businesses complaining that we can't do business, we have a lot of unemployment, we can't pay this interest. But you just think about the poor and vulnerable and pensioners, those who are fixed income earners, also live out of their savings or interest income, out of their savings. With the inflation, if they had 100 rupees income last year, 60% inflation means it's eroded by 60%. They have to live 40 rupees this year compared to 100 rupees that they had last year. Unless they increase their income, it's not possible in this kind of economic environment. So that's where people are asking why banks can't bring down the interest rates. You look at, banks are basically intermediary function. They take from depositors and give loans to the borrowers. Can we afford for the depositors to pay for the borrowers? It's no longer, they are not in a position to give that subsidy, although we gave that subsidy during the COVID time, but it's no longer affordable now. So we have to live with this high interest rates environment until inflation comes down. And also the part is we have to build our foreign reserves so that we can manage the exchange rate, at least prevent that sharp fall of the currency, sharp depreciation we have seen from month of March, April. Somehow we brought some sanity and control through various mechanisms, but for us to have a sustainable solution, we need to build up our foreign exchange positions. That is the next key element of this, the the IMF program, that we have presented a program, how we build up external reserves, how we bring down the inflation. That's another important third element. And fourth part is, in this kind of situation, obviously banks, safeguard financial system stability. Both banks, non-banks, and other financial sector players are the financial institutions play a major role in intermediating the financial services, that we don't want any further stress on financial sector, especially given already the economic contraction, that they are having a stress in terms of inability of some of the creditors paying their loans back, rising NPLs, or needs for recapitalization. So we need to protect the financial sector so that economy can function smoothly even under difficult circumstances. Then there are other parts in order to talk about the reduce corruption and vulnerabilities. There are certain measures that we agreed with the IMF to address that part. There are a lot of talk about the corruption and vulnerabilities, and also after we come into a certain situation, then we have to enhance our capacity to grow. That is, which means growth enhancing reforms. So that's basically, there are several other structural reforms to enhance our ability to grow and increase the capacity of the country to grow faster. That's basically the key elements of the IMF program.
Sri Lanka Business TV.